Hi, I'm Larry Dignan from ZDNet, and we're here with Cameron Deatsch. He's Chief Revenue Officer at Atlassian. And we're going to talk about some moves the company made for remote work, and it's also a key player in the move to remote work too. Hi, Cameron. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So recently, Atlassian issued a memo to workers that you're going full remote, basically full time forever. Um, so I guess tell me how that works and how you guys reached that decision. I know you were pretty dispersed to begin with, but I guess walk me through how it'll change things for you.
Yeah. Once again, thanks for having us. And listen, Atlassian was always a distributed company. Our headquarters is in Sydney, Australia, which by nature of the software industry and so on, kind of forced us to go international and across multiple geographies. And now we have offices in Amsterdam. We have offices in Sydney, of course, San Francisco, Austin, Texas, Bangalore, kind of around the world right now. On top of that, we've acquired a variety of companies that had various versions of remote working policies. So we always had this, distributed workforce and remote workforce DNA in our company, just because that's how we had to operate. Now, that said, with COVID, the reality is we looked at this and discussed with our peers in the industry, and we realized normal is no longer going to happen. Fundamentally, things have changed. And regardless of how the COVID pandemic is going to happen, we need to embrace that change. And the reality is, we believe if we fundamentally embrace it aggressively, right, and build plans and figure out new ways to work, it will actually only put Atlassian in a better position, allow us to hire in more markets and hire better employees and make our teams more successful. And it was with that fundamental acknowledgement that we made this decision that effectively employees will not have to return to their offices. That said, we always still have offices, and if people want to go and if we want to have meetings, we absolutely can, but we will not force them to come back.
Okay. Now, as a distributed company in the first place, how did you guys maintain culture? Or how did, that seems to be, in all the CIOs I talk to, that seems to be the thing they worry about the most is, if we're all remote, we're all virtual, we're all on Zoom, et cetera, how do we maintain that culture and set the tone and all that? But you were distributed to begin with. So I guess what's your view on retaining that culture, as a distributed company?
Yeah, so we talk about this a lot, and Atlassian not only is a distributed company, but when I started the company 8 years ago, we had 500 employees. Now we're pushing 5,000, right? So that even if we're in the same office is a hard thing to retain culture. And the way we discuss this is it actually starts with Atlassian's values. We have 5 key values. You can see them on our site, and this company, more than any company I've ever worked for, really looks to our company values to help guide decisions and how we work together as an organization. That said, we fully embrace that culture changes over time. It just has to change as you get bigger, as the industry changes, as people you bring in, your culture changes. But as long as your culture reinforces your values, we truly embrace that. That said, there's specific sets of practices that we've learned through teams. So we acquired Trello a few years ago, which is primarily a remote team, where they came in and said, actually, we have a variety of things like weekly town hall meetings that we do for the entire company, where our founders come up and speak about what's going on, or other various leaders in the business. We have a variety of other practices where we try to reinforce that even if teams are remote, that they are meeting on a regular cadence, whether that's quarterly or yearly, to not just do work stuff, but to do social aspects of that. And then, of course, we have a variety of what I say is smaller practices of how we do stand-ups or how we get aligned on projects with project posters and so on that continue to reinforce not just culture, but how we do things at Atlassian.
Okay. And this has also helped your business a good bit. I mean, your most recent quarter was strong. And your sales model was kind of freemium, and then but there's a lot of uptake from there. How has the COVID pandemic changed how you sell and how you basically get your software out in the field?
Yeah. Yeah, 2 pieces on that. I was actually just on a call with a CIO of a European bank, and talking to him exactly about what are your plans for Atlassian and how can we help? And he said, I talked to my peers, and there's basically 3 buckets of customers out there. There were the companies that are already digital native, have already where one day they're in the office, the next day everyone's working from home, but they didn't miss a beat. Right. And that's every kind of new company, technology companies, you name it, or companies that were very aggressive in their digital transformations. Then the second bucket of companies, and he fell in that company, which is, and the majority of companies, is like, we always had plans for massive digital transformation and consolidation of tooling and to embrace better, digital practices. And we had projects, but they were long running. And what's happening is all of a sudden, those types of companies are getting massive investment, blank checks from their boards and their executive teams to basically say, we need to accelerate all of this because this is the new normal. And for that situation, Atlassian can support our customers in two ways. One is that entire digital transformation process is about managing somewhat complex technology projects and rollouts in the intersection of technology and business teams, which is fundamentally what Atlassian helps teams do. But on top of that, we also, once teams are fully remote, how do we help teams actually just work better together of all types? How do they track their projects? How do they, for software development teams, how does a distributed software development team ship and manage and run and operate their software? And those are all things that are core to Atlassian's solutions. So the only other piece on that with COVID is, we also realize that this is a massive opportunity that, both that we can take care of our customers. This is actually, we decided to take the last sets of our products that were not free, that were trial-based products, and we made them free back in March for free for up to 10 users. And from that, we saw this huge influx of new users coming in the door, trying our products that historically, we saw massive volume come out of that last quarter, which we know is that, whether they come and decide to purchase this year or next, we know that they're using our products to get work done. And that is something we feel is very good across the industry.
Now, if I remember that correctly, that decision was, sort of based on, if there's a crisis, you can make some quick moves and, be forceful about it and basically come out stronger. And, Atlassian, I believe, mentioned the 2008 financial downturn and recession, and you guys were much smaller then, but, I guess what's the difference between the two crises? One was financial based in 2008, and then this one's obviously a health crisis, but, these downturns do give companies the ability to come out way stronger. So I guess compare and contrast the two.
Yeah, as I said, this isn't our first rodeo, where actually I think one of the best strategic decisions, and this was before my time at Atlassian, was how we responded to the last global recession in 08 and 09, which was, one, to continue to invest, in the company, to continue to hire aggressively through that, to put us on where potentially as other companies are having layoffs, that we can continue to get great employees within Atlassian. And you see us continuing that this year. We plan to hire over 1,000 employees this year. The second was increase the breadth in how easy it is for customers to use our products. And in 08 and 09, we released our starter licenses, which was $10 for 10 users. And that immediately saw this massive proliferation of Atlassian products. Now, we weren't making a ton of money off it. $10 isn't a bit, but before that, it was $800 to get into our products. And we saw this just massive proliferation of our products that has, that paid dividends for the last decade. As we went into this this situation, same general situation is, listen, there's a whole bunch of unknowns. We don't know how the economy is going to react. We don't know how businesses are going to react. But what we do know is if we make it easier for companies to use our products, like eliminating the need to pay for it entirely, that will get more people using our products. And then we can rely on our variety of ways to grow those customers over time. So those are the two main, the things that are exactly the same, which is make it easier to get our products where we launched free. And of course, continue to invest in our teams through this entire process to ensure that when we come out the other side, Atlassian is on better footing. I think the main difference is how it's affecting businesses is much different, right? Where, as far as different industries, we definitely see it specific to different industries having different challenges, but some industries are doing very well right now, and it's only making them more aggressive. But in general, our core, how we're responding is the same.
Okay. As far as onboarding new employees remotely, I guess what are the best practices that you guys use to onboard?
Yeah, yeah. I'm actually quite jealous of many of our new employees now at Atlassian. When I joined, I think I got a T-shirt and a Nerf gun, and the first thing we do is which was great. I think I still have them.
Yeah, it's not a bad thing. But.
No, it's great. I think we stopped the Nerf gun trend. I think we've grown up a little bit since then. But we go above and beyond to make those employees feel welcome. So we send them and their entire family big welcome kits that really kind of engage them with their cultures. Like you see the new employees because they have all the new gear, the new swag. They come Atlassianized. Second, on top of that, we have a robust buddy program where every new employee comes in and is connected and linked up with a specific individual who's been here for a couple of years or more, who can embrace of just, and they're not the same department or division. These people could be very, nothing to do with the same role, but more or less be a person to say, I don't get how, should I post a blog internally about how I'm introducing myself and so on. Those people can help guide through, and we have pretty clear processes around that. And then the last beat is of course on the managers and the teams. Like we really believe that teams can work the way they want. We don't enforce everything top down. So every team has its own set of practices to bring those people on and make them feel welcome. And they have their own sets of, rituals and so on, whether that's having lunch together and everyone has lunch on Zoom with the new employee for the first week. Sometimes they have to put mute for those things, or every Friday we're still doing virtual happy hours. We try and, there's the work side of thing, but it's really that trust that only comes with people hanging out and being social. And we try to reinforce those practices as much as we do with the work practices.
Okay. And if I recall, Atlassian decides to rotate teams a good bit, correct?
Listen, we are
or construct them differently based on projects and things like that.
We sell agile planning tools and agile project management tools. And one core tenet of being an agile company is you need to be able to, move teams and respond to business needs. And that's something that we pride ourselves on. That, I've been, since my time at Atlassian, I've been on 6 different teams, and it's something that as we continue to grow and the market continues to react, we need to be dynamic in how we align our businesses and our teams to those different customer engagements. So yeah, we have full capability across our product teams, our engineering teams, our design teams, our marketing teams, both in structured things where we have secondment programs, where people can go kind of part-time, or just full on be able to take a team of 10 developers off one project and move them on another. It's something we pride our abilities to react quickly to our customer demand.
And strategically, Atlassian's been focused on IT teams specifically. How has that focus gone? Like I know you did that deal with Slack not that long ago to further integrate. And I guess what has that focus given you over time?
Yeah. So and this is a big focus for us this year. It's actually, I fundamentally believe, one of the places where Atlassian can uniquely provide value for technical teams of all types. And our fundamental belief comes with, Atlassian's tools historically were used and managed and run by the software development side of the house within an organization, right? It's where the software teams were tracking their projects, managing their work, and then shipping their code off to an IT operations team that managed and ran that software. What we fundamentally believe, and we see COVID only accelerating this and remote work only accelerating this, is that the software teams that build software and the IT teams that are running that software as 2 separate teams on 2 separate platforms makes no sense whatsoever anymore. And Atlassian is the only platform that actually can solve the needs of core software development use cases as well as IT operations use cases on a single platform. And we've only accelerated that with acquisitions of Halp, like you mentioned, which allows basically to turn Slack into the front end of your IT help desk, so that if your teams are working in Slack, they can send a quick message and immediately send that into your IT operations and software development teams managed on Atlassian. And more recently, we acquired a company called Mindville, which was a member of already a very successful product in the Atlassian marketplace that provided CMDB asset management capabilities, basically core IT operations capabilities that any of our customers that from an IT perspective were standardizing on Atlassian were requiring for us to basically handle those broader IT use cases. But once again, this is a fundamental change in how businesses are how these IT organizations are being run. The fact is, to send all of your work requests into one system and then actually do all of your work in a separate system seems completely flawed to us. And we believe Atlassian is the only platform that can do both.
So the working theory is basically most projects are going to run through IT one way or the other anyway, right?
In the world of digital transformation and digital business initiatives, like all I can say is there's going to be more engagement between business teams and their software and technology counterparts than less, right? And remote work and digital transformation is only accelerating that.
What would you say some of the gaps are in terms of remote work? Like what's there? I mean, I think we have a lot today from a foundational perspective, but what do you think's missing?
You know, we talk about this a lot and how are we going to engage this? So one, obviously, just from a human engagement perspective, like there's a certain level I just consider with new people of trust. Like how do you build trust with individuals, with your teams, where you're not sitting in a room or going out to dinner after and doing those, you know, the social engagements where you're not kind of in the trenches together. Your entire relationship is through a Zoom meeting. And that's something we're constantly attempting to figure out of how do we ensure that that trust building continually gets established through new practices, knowing that that came somewhat for free when everyone's sitting next to each other in a room. The second piece is around collaboration and problem solving. I think we find that it's easy to get on a Zoom meeting and do status updates or talk about a project. It's much different when there's, say, a fire drill, you know, and we all need to respond quickly to a particular issue. You know, 10 heads on a screen can be somewhat complex for those situations. And how can we put more best practices around that? And also around innovation and collaboration. Just when we just are trying to purely get into idea mode, how do we move beyond video screen to enable that? And that's something we've had a lot of fun with. We started using Trello pretty heavily for that, where if everyone throws a bunch of Trello, for if you people don't know, is basically a easy, lightweight way to manage tasks in a board-based view, but it's also a powerful ideation tool where everyone starts throwing ideas up on the board and people move them around, and it's a great complement for collaboration and ideation with people who are on a video screen.
Okay. I don't see. Is there anything I didn't ask that I should have? Any final words?
Yeah, my biggest that I want to continue to reiterate is the entire pandemic fundamentally is forcing companies to operate in new ways and accelerate their digital investments. Core to that is how these IT teams and software development teams are going to operate together. And we believe that those teams are getting closer and closer together in how they work. And that's what Atlassian's fundamentally attempting to solve and invest for in this next year.
All right. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much.